All right, welcome in, folks, to the Can We Kick It podcast. I'm your host, Mike, along with Chuck here.
What up?
How's it going, Chuck?
Good, man. I'm just on a fucking spaceship to Mars right now, looking for some asteroids to mine, baby.
That's right. Got to get that tritium or whatever they're after.
What's it? Tritium. What were they mining in or what was
Oh, Avenue 5.
one?
Yeah.
Avenue 5, where they're running out of something on Earth and then
Yeah.
it's
What
not
was
Tritium,
it was
yeah.
That's where I couldn't. I totally forgot about Avenue 5. I was like, wait, don't they need this shit on Earth? I've got some plot holes for all mankind, so we'll get to that here in a minute. But I thought that was a funny connection.
Oh yeah, I got plot holes and a bunch of stuff galore, but yeah.
But yeah, you good otherwise, man?
Yeah, how you been?
Good. It's been a while since we've done one of these around a TV show. We just did Hubie Halloween, which was always
Yeah.
hilarious. But it's been we took a little siesta to take a break during the end of summer going into winter. So it's good to be back.
Yeah.
And of course, most people who have followed the podcast, if they've made it this long in the life of our podcast, will know that we are going to be talking about For All Mankind because it just started up again.
It did last night. So, or
Is this our
technically
third
today.
season of doing For All Mankind on the pod?
I think so. It's, it never disappoints. Even when it disappoints, it never disappoints.
Yeah.
I was disappointed last night when it was over. I'm like, I don't know what happened. There were so many plot holes and things that are so dumb, and I'm like, this is the greatest. I could have watched it for another hour.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, it was an hour and like 12 minutes long, and you could have made it another hour, and I would have stuck in there. Just so many great things about the show. I mean, we're on season 4 now. It's jumped, like another 10 years, like every season does. And it's a 10-episode season, so we're gonna get quite a few. We're only on the first one, and it was over an hour.
Yeah.
And it drops every Friday, so that's kind of nice going into the weekend. It's something to turn the brain over because the show always gets my mind going. I mean, last season, I will say I like how this season has started, where they're already in space and there's like spaceships and all this stuff. Whereas, like, remember last season where it took them forever to get to Mars?
Yeah.
And now they're already mining, asteroids. So it's a good jump, and I'm glad they're already diving right into the action. Somebody already died.
Yeah. Within the first quarter of the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really did you watch the 6 vignettes before?
I did not make it, no.
Yeah, so it's funny because I watched those yesterday and they're like 2 to 3 minutes long, and it kind of gives some context of what happens between last season and this season. And they really did it with the start of the episode by doing the same. A lot of that was intertwined. There was some additional stuff in the vignette, but I really I don't know, I'm just a sucker for alternate history because because part of me maybe thinks there's I feel like I'm in devs that there's multiverse theory and other timelines going on, and so it kind of feels every time I watch it, I was like, oh, Al Gore won the presidency. Michael Jordan is leading the Mariners into the playoffs, and
John Lennon was still alive.
John Lennon singing in the Super Bowl. Yeah. Just some really cool stuff that you think about little events in history that changes trajectories forever. So it's fun to see that, and like how at the end of last season you had they find the North Korean guy. They were supposed to have an unmanned thing, but North Korea was actually the first person on Mars. And now they basically formed this M7 space alliance, and it's like North Korea, Russia, US, Europe and then like what was it like? There was it was like Mexico and Canada were doing separate things, and China and like all the communist countries. I don't know. It was it just kind of sets the stage for what's happening. And we talked about the last year or the last couple of years. It's like China is going to show up here somewhere, and they still haven't tackled China at all. And
No.
it's like it was interesting in the beginning of the show, and it talked about how China and Canada had separate, we're not part of the M7 alliance, and so I'm wondering if that's going to come into play. Probably not, because it didn't the last 2 years, but it's very interesting that China is out of is not really involved in
Yeah,
this,
they're
and
out
it
of
could be.
scope. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it could be because that's where Apple phones are made. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, Apple is still
You
a
know what?
thing. We do see somebody dealing with like an Apple tablet in the show, like it's got
Oh,
the
you do?
logo.
Okay.
So yeah, so Steve Jobs like still created Apple in I'm guessing America.
Maybe the guy in charge was Wozniak versus
Right.
Jobs.
Yeah. John Lennon like went in like on Apple early and is like
Yeah,
a quadruple billionaire.
yeah. So, so what do you think of the episode?
Dude, I thought it was good. It of course left me wanting more, but I liked it because we saw some of the original players. Definitely some people missing, right? We know
Yeah,
from last season, Karen Baldwin, Ed's wife or ex-wife, whatever she was, died at the bombing of JSC. And Ed like has never been back to Earth since, which is hilarious. He's just a space pirate almost.
yeah.
And Danielle is retired from NASA. Um, there's a new head of NASA. It's Daniel Stern. It's good to see one of the robbers from Home Alone finally made
Yeah.
it in life. Um,
Do you think we're in the Home Alone universe?
oh,
Like
gotta
he
be.
went from trying to rob Macaulay Culkin to now head of NASA,
Oh
or
yeah.
is this the City Slickers universe? Because he
Oh,
was in City Slickers as well.
that's true. It is
It
late
could
enough
be
for it to be
City
the City
Slickers because
Slickers.
he was the head of Chrysler or something. So it seems like
Yeah.
him and Billy Crystal and a couple other guys went on some corporate retreat to um,
Right.
you know,
In Detroit.
yeah,
Yeah, that I could see. I like that it jumps right off with, I mean, obviously, Margot's in Soviet Russia. She's defected. She's living, I'm gonna say she's living a shitty life. I'm not gonna lie. The red line didn't seem long enough for me, but what do I know?
well, this is new Soviet Union.
Yeah, no,
You
no Soviet to Russia. Yes.
you actually got extra stuff and you paid with rubles. You just didn't get your free bread.
Yeah,
A lot
true.
of the Soviets don't like the new, democracy, right?
Yeah, they don't like
That's what
Gorbachev, right? Yeah,
yeah.
the taxes are going up. God, they sound like us, man. Like taxes are going up. This is ridiculous. Like, yeah. Um, yeah, she has
And
like Margot has nothing to do with the space program anymore. They're like, we'll consult you, but she's just basically sidelined because she's a defector. They used her. They got what they wanted. It's over.
now, do you think that the U.S. knows that she's alive,
Yeah.
or do you think they think she died in the bombing?
Ugh, damn, that's a good question because her office did get taken out.
Yeah, because one of the last scenes of last year was Elena in her office with the wall blown off.
Dang, that's a good
And
point. I forgot that. There's a good chance they think she's dead.
that's what I'm thinking. Like she leaves, I mean, you see her walking out a set of double doors, but I mean, they think she's dead. I mean, you would think that they would have to find some DNA, but that they wouldn't just be like, "Oh, the head of the space program is now disappeared," or because they renamed the thing Molly Cobb, because
Yeah.
the end of last season too, like it's so weird. And I watched this the other day, and I forgot that she had died, but she
Yep.
when the building blows up, when NASA blows up in the end of last season, she goes back or she leads people to stairs, which was really cool because remember she was blind
Right.
from space radiation or whatever coming out of the mine thing, and then
Space glaucoma. Yeah.
yeah. So she like led people to the stairs, and she's like, okay, you guys, 25 steps to the stairs, because they couldn't see because of the lights were out and all that. And
Smoke
that
and
was
all
really
that.
cool.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm gonna go back. And like at that, she goes back in, you see her like going back in, and it's like this like little slow mo shot. And I'm like, why wouldn't someone else say, let me go back in? I have eyes.
Yeah, I can
And
see. Yeah.
yeah.
You stay here. I got this. Yeah.
Yeah. So they rename I mean, it's been 10 years, but they rename everything after Molly Cobb. They didn't rename it
Mar-
Baldwin or any of the
Margot.
Margot
Yeah.
Madison, any of the 195 people that died,
Yeah.
or the Gordo and
The Gordo Stevens Center.
for people that can't read good.
Oh no.
The Jimmy Stevens. No, actually, it's the Jimmy Stevens Detention Center. That was really interesting. So the only thing I was trying to understand in like the lead up, and I don't know if this is a vignette or at the beginning of this episode 1, was they talk about the trial. Did you see that? So
yeah, it was of Jimmy, right? Jimmy Stevens.
well, Jimmy. So in one of the vignettes, they went into more detail, but Jimmy Stevens got 12 years in jail, because he was the star witness against the guy that looks like Bryan Cranston and Sunny, the girl that were teasing him. And they got like life in prison, or no, they were getting the death penalty or something. But didn't the one guy look like he got blown up? Like
he was like
he
was like right next to Karen. Like,
and I imagine
how
Sunny would
Karen
have
wasn't
been
blown
there.
apart is beyond me, but like the guy was standing right next to the van.
Yeah, and that was the interesting thing on the rewatch. Karen is under the rubble of the building, but is not in pieces. She's like was right in front of the fucking van. The spot of the explosion. She should be in like 30 pieces around the building, but Jimmy like emerges out of nowhere after running away, and
Yeah, that
apparently
bitch
he
took
ran.
off.
Yeah, and then him and Karen look exactly the same, and Karen was like standing 10 feet in front of the van that got blown up. So I don't know.
Just a little dust. Just a little dust. Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, we have, and we talked about most of the characters. Aleida is now in charge of Thrust. Like she was like, they gave her the fucking room like at the end of last year. Now she's like got demoted to like 6th in line. Like,
well, when your mentor is a defector, well, they don't know that,
thing.
but
yeah, like
for me, it's like there's no way they would have kept her around. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
if
they knew that,
they know, yeah, if they know Margot was alive and that defected to Russia, anybody connected with her would be cleared out.
So, anybody in her orbit up to like 2 or 3, like,
yeah,
are like gone. They're like, all right, cool, you've been shepherded out of the program. New people. Yeah. Daniel Stern came out of nowhere, obviously running Chrysler, but yeah, Alita's running Thrust, which was like her deal because like the engine design was hers.
Yeah, she designed the engine. Yeah, the last one.
Yeah. Daniel Stern is now running things. He's the head of NASA. The president, Wilson, right? Won re-election after coming out, and we had George H.W. as her like running mate.
Yeah.
And then they lost to Al Gore in 2000.
Yeah. So Gore is the president.
They don't say who his vice president is, do they?
No.
But I do find it hilarious that the Clintons got divorced.
Yeah. So you want to do a quick recap of what happened through the episode, or we want to just kind of talk through the new storyline So
Yeah, I'm
I
trying to
think
find a good recap.
yeah. So what's so I do a quick like so basically now we're starting off as you mentioned there so we got two programs going on and we still got Helios,
Yep.
which is being run by the the board guy that offered Karen the CEO job before she got blowed up.
Yep.
And we don't know where Dev is yet because he wasn't in this episode, but assuming he's got his own, or they talked about he's got his own company, right?
Robotics company. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Robotics, yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
But that was from the vignette, or that was from at the very beginning.
That
And
was
they
from
never,
the intro credits where
yeah,
it's the catching up
yeah,
history. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So you got Helios and NASA, and that, well, really not even, I mean, it's NASA, but it's the M7 coalition of all the different, of Russia, North Korea, US are the main players, right? And now we have, there's still Moon. Helios is hiring all these people for the Moon and Mars missions because basically the goal is to mine. And oh, and in the vignette at the beginning, they had the oil companies sued the we for the it is fucking Shell and Exxon. So like now like
And
Shell and
Halliburton.
Exxon and Halliburton are drilling on the moon with Helios. That's great.
And there's like a
Uh,
moon mine strike or whatever, like driller
yeah,
strike or some shit. Yeah, it's so good.
but it's basically like there's a couple of different storylines. It's really about, and I think they're making out to be like the moon and Mars, and then these asteroids outside of Mars is like the new offshore oil drilling sector. And
Yeah.
so Helios is hiring people to do this, and we get introduced to a new character. I think his name's
Miles.
Daniel Miles, yeah.
Miles.
And he's trying to he's trying to he's kind of a seemed like a poor luck or kind of a losery guy down on his luck, but he's trying. Works in the oil field, um, and
The
he
personal
got laid.
pampering market went down. Okay, like you can't help if lotion doesn't sell.
Yeah, that was funny.
That
And
was
like,
brutal.
yeah, he can't. I mean, I think this is kind of going to, people are saying with electric cars, like, if we go electric, we're going to lose all the oil workers. And he's like, once they were started mining stuff on the moon, we all lost our jobs. But his friend, yeah.
This is first plot hole for me. All right, so this Miles guy, right,
Yeah,
worked on the Bruce tube oil rig, whatever it
yeah,
was in the Gulf, whatever, fine. So we've gone to full electric. I'm sure this was last season. I don't give a shit, but I'm bringing it
yeah.
back up. They've gone to all electric. They don't mine for oil anymore anywhere in the world. Okay. How the fuck do you still get plastics? I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, well, I don't think it's electric though. But it's like whatever they're mining on the moon,
Sure, it's some mineral, something that can do
lithium
whatever,
or,
whatever.
well, I guess it'd be, yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's still, and they do mention in the beginning that the Soviets have like a bunch of oil reserves, or unless that was in the little vignette,
Hmm.
um, it may have been like in one of the six little
It
three
could
minute
be
things.
because the last one is called the Soviet economic boom, so it's probably
Yes,
in that one. Yeah.
and it talks about that the interesting part is that Soviet has the largest oil reserves in the
Hmm.
world. Um, so it's kind of like they're poised to be the economic. Maybe they're taking the place of China, in the world and
I can
the
see that.
economy, because it's kind of following kind of China's move to democracy. Um,
Right.
but really like causing their economic boom and becoming their GDP. So it kind of does that in in the Russia thing. It shows their chart like going up against the U.S. So, but yeah, I mean, there's still, yeah, I think it's being over dramatized, but yeah,
Yeah,
we
definitely
introduced
glossing over some facts. I mean, some questions I have.
it.
Sure.
It was definitely interesting because it was showing Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Miles of the Baton Rouge, and then like, I mean, I spent a lot of time in Baton Rouge, I don't remember seeing any how it looked like he was like in northern Louisiana, like in the woods,
Yeah.
or like in some kind of, I don't know. It didn't look like Baton Rouge to me, but um, but yeah. So he's getting divorced, and he's trying to get a job, and he goes to interviews with Helios, and they're like, okay, you can go to the moon. He puts Florida State on his resume for some reason when he sees the lady next to him writing Louisiana State
Yeah.
University. Um, which
It's probably a
also,
good pick because it's like, okay, they're in Louisiana. The odds of
yeah,
somebody hiring is from
yeah,
LSU, but
yeah,
okay, Florida State. And then the guy interviewing him went to Florida State, and he's like, "Oh fuck."
yeah. But I think it's interesting because I'm assuming like in these kind of what he's trying to do on the oil rigs, like his experience on the well, like I don't think that would be that important thing that he got a degree in something from Florida State. Uh,
Yeah,
I mean, it depends what you do on the rigs, because I mean, obviously, where we work, and I know a lot of people that are smart and have like are subsea engineers, and they have extensive degrees, and they go out on the platforms. But like Miles ain't no fucking subsea engineer. He's like handing somebody a tool, or
yeah. He's
like
a gopher.
yeah,
He's a lineman. But that's my thing. Is like it's a new industry. So
hmm
mining on Mars is pretty fresh. So the odds that there are requirements for you to have like a PhD or a master's in metallurgical engineering has got to be super low because they just need bodies, right? They need people picking shit up and moving it to this point, to the other point,
and
right? I got to imagine. So it's like the odds of you needing a degree are like none.
another question for you. I mean, obviously, the space you know programs and all this has is way ahead of where we are. But do you really think that all these people are lining up to go work in space? I mean, I don't. I guess in that world, it could be like how people do these stints, in other countries or whatever
Yeah.
to make a lot of money, or the oil field jobs. You work a lot and make a lot of money and come home. So,
Considering it's in the U.S. and Soviet Russia's got their economic boom, maybe the U.S. is in a little bit of a downturn.
mhm.
I can see people taking the opportunity to say, "Yeah, I'll go to space. I need the work."
Yeah,
I was surprised that the room was just packed. I expected it to be more guys like him, not
yeah,
like a bunch of people in suits and stuff applying for jobs. I
yeah,
expect like this is where the rig workers go, and this is where the
yeah,
executives go. That's what I
yeah,
thought. But
yeah, yeah. Same. And then, I don't know, if I was going in, I'd want to make sure Ed Baldwin wasn't in charge of my crew or ship.
just saying, the
It,
guy's got a record. I know his wife died at JSC. And he basically gets a free pass to never come back to Earth. But come on, there's a
it,
limit to everything.
yeah, yeah. Well, so we'll switch. Nothing more on Miles.
No, he's
The
going to have a bigger part later in the show when it comes to the whole conflict between all the countries. The M7 is
is it
supposedly like the ideal.
is he gonna have an Armageddon moment? Like,
Oh, you gonna ride
it's
that meteor to
no,
hell?
no, but it's like him and Ed's gonna, like do that to sacrifice so Miles can go back home, like to his wife that does now maybe wants to like doesn't want to get back together, but will fuck him like before he goes to Mars. Um,
This doesn't mean we're getting back together. He's like, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Don't worry. Yeah, I, I'm interested to see how this plays out. I'm not
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
I'm interested to see the way it goes. He's going to be caught in the middle, obviously. I mean, he's going to be like Ed was when they were like coming up on the Russians and like stood down and didn't, they blew up the other satellite or whatever the fuck it was. He's going to be caught in the middle and he's going to have to make some moral choice that's going to change the trajectory of the show.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he's in this first episode, and they spent a lot of time with him, so they're gonna be. And did you ever watch the movie Mars Attacks?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he reminds me of the Jack Black's character who plays the army guy, and he like goes up, yeah, and then the alien. I'm like, he's gonna walk out of the movie like, hey, what's this? And they're like, he's just in real life, but not in the show.
Yeah,
But
so great,
so
so great.
let's switch to our man Ed, Joel Kinnaman, who's great. Like I didn't know who he was before For All Mankind, but I really like him. He's so good and sometimes so bad at the same time. But
Yeah, he's got moments where he it really shines through, and there's other moments where I'm just him pressing the button to disconnect the asteroid from the ship. He was like his whole hand. I'm like,
yeah,
it's a hard decision. I get it, but it's just
yeah.
it's finger. I was just like, all right, that's an actor's choice. Okay, sure.
Well, and this is it's just I think this is like so just they're basically they they're outside of an asteroid. And it's not the Sojourner, is it? It's a new ship, or I
Yeah,
forget the name.
yeah, it's a new ship. I
And
can't remember the name of it. Yeah,
it's gotta, they're at this asteroid off of Mars, like, and I think it's between maybe Mars and Saturn. Like, there's a real asteroid belt and real
so I
life
think that
that
the
is there.
asteroid is actually based on the one that we sent a lander to not too long ago. A
Yes,
couple years.
yeah, yeah,
Kronos is the name of the
yes,
meteor
Kronos, yeah,
or asteroid, whatever.
yeah, yeah,
So
whatever
yeah,
it is. And so um the former cosmonaut uh
Grigori.
Grigori, he's the first guy that lands on the asteroid, and is basically because he won a card game with Ed. But they have this cool spaceship with this cool like penis looking docking station thing that
Yeah,
they have on the asteroid.
it's
And
very
then they're
comical.
like they're bringing the asteroid to Mars. So were they just gonna land it on Mars? So they create this series of cables
Yeah,
and attach it to the ship, and then, of course, as soon as they start moving, something goes wrong.
all the
Yeah,
cables start
it's
bouncing around, and yeah, it's an interesting design for the ship. I'm surprised they are pushing it. And I mean, I get the understanding of pushing it, as opposed to pulling it, because then you're in the way and you can't slow it down. Because I was the whole time I'm watching this, I'm like, why did they choose to be behind it? None of that shit makes sense. Blah blah blah. But yeah, they have like a connecting piece on the other side of the asteroid. They string all these, I'm guessing, steel wires all the way
yeah,
across the asteroid, and they have like pins that keep them above the surface to keep it from damaging it or whatever.
yeah,
And then they attach to it, and like I love how they just like put the like anchor in when you see them like putting
yeah,
in the last couple of anchors, and it's like good, and then he's like, "That's it," and it's like, dude,
yeah,
that went
yeah,
nowhere.
yeah, yeah. It.
Oh
Why wouldn't you just get a big net? Can you just
yeah,
put a big net around it and
yeah,
drag it?
for real. So it's a cool design. It's interesting, but yeah, you've got Ed piloting this thing
Who's
who has been
what
in
is he?
space,
80?
who should
How?
be younger than anybody else on Earth. If we're talking about
Um,
relativity here,
did did he go to the planet that Matthew McConaughey and
yeah.
went to an interstellar where
Man's
they
planet, yeah.
yeah, and there's
Um,
23 years. No, not Man's Planet. Where there was it Man's Planet? Yeah, where there was water and they
I can't
lost
remember the name
23
of it.
years. It wasn't.
Yeah,
I don't think it wasn't Man's, but it was. But like, is Ed younger now? Because I think I was reading something today that like Margot was like 25 and now she'd be 60. Ed has to be at least 70.
at least.
Yeah. So in this advanced society, we have a 70-year-old piloting this spaceship. Like, why would you have him in charge? First, your grandchild is asking for you to come home, and your daughter is asking you to come home the entire episode. Like, you haven't been home in 10 years, which I don't understand the timeline that much because the kid's like not 10, but
No,
I think that there's something wrong with the timeline because kids like 3 or 5, but they're
I'm not good with kids' ages, but he was. I don't know. It doesn't add up to me because I will say this. So the kid is the first Martian, like born
yes,
on Mars.
Stranger in a Strange Land. It's a
Exactly.
book. Yeah.
I can't wait for him to play a role in season 20.
He's
Um,
season 5, he's like it becomes like a horror movie or a horror TV show. It's like
uh,
he's growing tentacles and shit.
yeah. So yeah, so Ed apparently came back after their 15 months on Mars. When they sent Kelly back, right, because she was pregnant. So they all
Yeah,
stayed on Mars and they stayed there for over a year. So Ed came back for that little bit, probably for Karen's funeral. Um,
but he
Can't
did come
imagine
back
they
to the
held it for
U.S.
that long.
Yeah,
Say what?
he came back to the States.
Yeah, he came back to the States, and that's where we have no mention of Danny Stevens returning.
Yes.
So we'll get to that here in a minute. But yeah, so Ed's in charge of, he's the executive officer on Happy Valley, which is the Mars station. And then that other guy is the commanding officer who takes the blame for what happens for the asteroid. So they start moving the asteroid and the shit starts falling apart, and that's when like Grigori is like, I'm gonna go save this thing. Okay, first of all, it's like
Yeah.
the size of fucking Rhode Island.
Yeah.
You're not saving
Don't
anything.
worry. I think one of the things that I went Kachung is loose. We're just gonna go back out there, jackhammer it in there.
Yeah.
Um,
And he takes Parker or whatever the other guy's name is, who has no, like, his character has no business going out there at all, because he was the one that was like, I don't like being out here unless I'm attached to something. You're going to a fucking meteor, man. Or an asteroid.
yeah.
I keep saying meteor. So yeah, it's like he has no business going
It,
out there.
but yeah, then he's like, "Well, I gotta. If we don't haul this back to Mars, I don't get paid." It's
I don't
like,
get my bonus. Yeah.
yeah, you're but
Yeah.
guess what? You're dead.
Yeah. How'd that work out for you? Yeah.
You ain't getting a bonus now.
Yeah. So yeah, so like the Parker gets impaled when the thing starts collapsing. They have structural failure. Grigori gets stuck. He gets his foot trapped. And they make the hard decision to break, the ship apart. Ed leaves Grigori to die on the asteroid, and Ed is just like, I got it, and like presses the button. It's so ridiculous. Um,
I can't wait till they go back to the asteroid and like Gregory is like just floating around it like in Avenue 5. the the engineers just keeps like every like so many
He's
hours.
got a rotational gravity around the
Yeah.
ship.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. Bu-
So and then like we find out there's all kinds of problems with NASA and the crew. Apparently they can't over these 7 years or 10 years they haven't found good people to replace. Apparently there was no other astronauts or anything coming up. So Daniel Stern asks
Danielle. Yeah.
Danielle to come to take over on to lead Happy Valley.
Yeah, she's a name. Yeah. She's
Yeah.
just jersey sales. Like, we're gonna get this thing back
Yeah.
under control. This is our first round draft pick, Danielle Poole. She's gonna lead us back to the glory gates. And the season is just beginning because she said yes.
Yeah. And then we see Danielle this episode too, retired, and she's at the birthday party of Danny Stevens's daughter, son, daughter, and Danny's wife. And there's a mention of like it gets harder every year or easier every year, harder every year. So I think you mentioned before we'll get to this. We don't know what happened to Danny. So or we don't know definitively. We know what happened the end of the last season. They marooned him at the
North Korean
Korean.
space capsule.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think he's still living in that space capsule?
I
Or is
is he a caveman? Is he just living on the range, hunting Mars beetles and cattle and
or did he die? Did he kill himself?
I think the obvious answer is that he killed himself somehow, jumped off a cliff, ran out of oxygen, whatever, right? I mean, they were gonna bring him supplies and all this stuff, but like my money's on is that he killed himself to some degree. However, the character is supposed to make an appearance in the show. Doesn't say whether or not it's a flashback or what. My money is on is that he's alive and he's choosing to live in exile, and everybody
That
on Earth just thinks he's fucking dead.
I think that's kind of where I'm at as well, and is that he's so overcome with guilt that he's just like you said, he just chose to live in exile, um based on his feelings of guilt, and then also I'm sure he's heard it. Both his parents are dead. His brother tried to blow up NASA.
He's
Well,
yeah,
he felt really guilty about it at the very end, and he tried to
yeah,
call Tyler or whatever her Danny's wife's name is.
yeah.
But
And he's responsible for the deaths at the oil plant or at the rig
yeah,
on Mars.
yeah,
It's like this guy back on Earth would be in jail, shared a cell with his brother, which I'm sure solitude is better than sharing a cell with your brother. But
he yeah he should yeah he needs to suffer for his crimes.
is he like the first space outlaw? Is he just like on the lam on Mars?
He's or is he space sheriff like
Timothy
Timothy
Oliphant.
yeah.
I wonder if everybody thinks he's dead,
I
and
think Ed
Ed
and
is
Danny,
stayed up there so long because he keeps taking him rations and shit.
yeah, Ed and Danielle know that he's alive, and
Yeah,
um they're they're like hiding him. They're saying like he died, but they're keeping him hidden.
yeah, keeping him hidden. Yeah, yeah, they're keeping
Only
him
those
from.
two and Captain Lee Jong in, the Korean
Yeah,
guy, knows.
and he doesn't speak English, so it
So
works out. Nobody understands him.
no, but Ed can speak Korean, so that's where
True.
the secret lies. It's between
Yeah.
them three.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my money is Danny's alive. That's my money. And like Ed is
I
gonna
think
be
so.
like attacked at Happy Valley, and all of a sudden Danny's gonna walk up and be like, "Hey, what the fuck?"
He's got a big beard, but he doesn't even wear a helmet anymore. Like he's just become acclimated to Mars. So
Oh, the first terrestrial. Oh, that's great.
yeah,
Yeah, that was pretty much what happened in space. Um,
a
then
lot of
you got
stuff on the ground.
Margot, yeah, with the whole Moscow thing. She's living in Moscow. She's living a pretty dull life, which for her is probably not that bad because she's got pretty low standards, I think. Or she's pretty basic.
And we
But
see her boyfriend is living like he's a he's a guy at the end of Goodfellas in Arizona, like getting his paper in his bathrobe.
yeah, he's living in witness
So
protection. He's like,
yeah,
yeah,
So Margot. Now, Margot is walking with a noticeable limp.
yep.
Do you think that's just old age, or do you think something happened? Like maybe she's been over there a while, assuming. Um, do you think she tried to get too involved with the space program and they kneecapped her, and
Yeah,
then because they're keeping her at arm's length, they're not telling her anything?
I am Oscar Martinez.
She wants to
Office
be
reference people.
she wants to be part of the Roscos or whatever they're
Yeah, Roscosmos. Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
She's
I
like Da. So Madison, Margot Madison.
Yeah.
She speaks perfect Russian, and then she talks in English in her Alabama accent. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, she's got the limp. She was brushing her teeth and she's got a toothache. So it's like obviously, I mean, we don't know this trajectory of the world that they're in, but based on what we know now, the healthcare can't be that great over there. So that's an assumption by me. But maybe she like felt like the elevators don't work in Russia, so she like fell down the stairs or something and like broke her knee. That's what she tells everybody. But really, it's the KGB who's like following her outside in that black car.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
And then we see Margot. You know, she goes to the Roscosmos, to the Star City, they call it.
Star City. Yep.
And they're basically like, tell her to go home. And then a couple days later, she's sitting at a park bench, and a lady starts talking to her English and basically relates her to the birds that are on the ground, saying, wait till the spring, and then here's my number. And so it'd be interesting to see what happens there. Here's what I'm thinking is that lady is connected to the guy that's challenging Gorbachev. Like they showed him, and in the Soviet vignette, one of those six, they had him as like a challenger to them. So I'm wondering if like he's making plans, for a coup, and he wants to install Margot as a space program. I don't know. It seems something. Yeah. It seems something that the show would do. It's like he's like, all right, my first thing is to put Margot Madison in charge of Star City.
Yeah. I'm gonna laugh when they use her as like a false flag operation, and she gets like executed for like creating the coup. Like she's just all at the center of this. It's gonna be hilarious.
They're trying to get her Russian boyfriend back, and it's all set up.
Yeah, it's a prisoner swap, and then she goes and lives in prison in America. Yeah, yeah. Aleda, like when the whole spacecraft thing was having a problem, so like Aleda had like PTSD from when the building was bombed.
Yeah,
and she's just skipping out on work.
Yeah, Morgan from home today.
Yeah,
I need to be sitting at this console monitoring, but you know what? I'm just gonna not answer and say Morgan.
I'll dial in.
Yeah. Are we missing anything for what happened?
I don't think so. Margot's getting pulled into some kind of conspiracy. Life on Mars. Yeah. So like the last thing we see is like Danielle's on the shuttle. Go ahead.
Well, no, I think either before. Yeah. So you mentioned Daniel's on the shuttle, and we see Miles in the same shuttle. It didn't take a lot to convince Danielle, and maybe seeing. I think it was Tyler, whoever she saw in the hall. That was the guy that came out as a gay. On this, and the last one, and now he's like engaged into his boyfriend, and maybe he's head of the astronauts or something, and but yeah, she goes back, and then she's on the shuttle, and you see Miles on the shuttle as well, and then. I don't know if this is before. This was at the end or right before that, but Ed is in his little tuk-tuk smoking weed. Is that what happened?
Yeah, Ed's rolled a joint and he's chiefing it, looking at
Chief Keef, like
his
fucking tuk-tuk, like
his bungalow.
Yeah.
His Mars bungalow. Yeah, I was like, okay, maybe he's old school. He likes to roll his own ciggies. But I was like, I don't know, man. This is probably pretty modern age. Like they're probably like cool with Chief Keef. Yeah.
Is Mars weed better than American? Do they grow?
Are they growing it up there? Like,
is that one of their side projects? Like, there's like one of the workers comes to Ed. It's like, hey, I got some ganj that I grew over here in the hydroponic pod or something. Like.
Ed's like, I don't give a shit. I'll partake. Yeah.
He's like, I don't want to end up like Molly Cobb with glaucoma. Glaucoma.
That was pretty good. He's like looking out his window and probably in the same direction as Danny Steve. Like he sees like Danny off in the distance, and he's just like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was probably the most shocking thing to me, that he's sitting there smoking a joint, like, at the end of the show. That, and that he's like, he so a couple things on Ed. He's the most selfish person in the show. Like, he needs to retire. I mean, it's not like, I understand if it's like he's lost everything, and like if Kelly and his grandson was dead, or granddaughter or whatever, grandson, and if everybody's dead and he had nothing else, but like he's got his daughter and grandson back home. Like he's a guy. There's two things. Like, you mentioned, like Danielle's like the name, the player they're bringing back, but I kind of have a different take. It's like Ed is the guy that for some reason they can't fire, and he'll never retire.
Yeah.
And you're just like, and like the boss is like, God damn, like, will you just
He's
fucking quit? Like,
he's gonna die behind the
how
stick of a ship
how
at a
come?
crucial moment.
Yeah, he's gonna be behind the stick. He's gonna have a heart attack and crash into the acid. Yeah, like have a stroke, and like they've been wanting him to retire for 10 years because he's like caused a lot of these problems,
Yeah.
but for whatever reason, like, he's a guy that will never leave because he wouldn't know what to do without his work.
Yeah.
And then Danielle's like the one that's like, okay, like, she was cool being retired, but the boss is like, we need to get, all right, we need someone with experience. Let me hire her as a contractor to come in and right the ship for a couple years, and then we'll let her get back on. And she'll be, all right, cool, are we up? And she's going to go home and retire again. Where
Yeah.
Ed will be like, you got to pull me from this, with my cold, dead hands, because his ass ain't leaving.
No,
It's like,
never.
yeah, I mean, like, I hope to God I'm not that person in work, and I'm already trying to get away from that by taking it
Oh
as
yeah.
much time off and making sure I'm uh, enjoying life outside of work. So that
Yeah.
way, when it's time to retire, when I see I'm that person, I'm like,
Peace.
peace.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Ed's got a trimmer. He's like avoiding like his health and all this stuff,
yeah,
and he's
that's why he's
smoking a
smoking
J.
weed. Like,
Yeah,
he's got the shakes.
yeah, he's got the space shakes. Um, yeah, it's super interesting what they're doing to his character. I like how they've aged him up, like
Yeah,
more than anybody else. He looks older than anybody else from that era.
yeah.
Um,
Margot looks better, even though she's like kind of older, but she looks better. Danielle looks exactly the same.
exactly the
Like,
same.
and then Ed looks like he's like his age, which is 80.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah, he's gonna go out in a blaze of glory. I can feel it. Yeah, I
well,
really like. You go ahead.
no, I was gonna say the interesting part is because, like, in the real space program, like, they're not sending jamokes and old folks up to space, right? You have to be like physically fit and like be the best of the best. And even in the first season, that was the case. Like, you were, during the space program, and now it's like, but maybe it's a private space because he works for Helios, and it's like,
Yeah, it's true. He does
what's
work for
what's
Helios.
in? Okay, he's 80. All right, he passes. Wait, his hand is shaking when he was going. No, that's okay. He's just controlling.
Yeah, he's just controlling this whole ship. Yeah.
Dude, on the control room at NASA, they're tracing, like, the GPS is going like, the ship is just like wobbling all around. It's supposed to be like, it's like, sorry.
I can't get it on. I can't get it on the line. No shit, Ed. You're driving it. Yeah. Yeah, I
When
meant
they
to make the
put,
joke earlier that like maybe Ed, like they're just like he's so old they think they're letting him drive, but there's another guy like a level below him, like I fucking got this. Like,
but it's like Avenue 5 where it's just fake controls and someone else in
yeah,
another room is driving. So
yeah. It's if Ev is doing some AI rope or whatever, if all that shit's coming.
yeah.
But yeah, uh, it'll be interesting to see where this show goes. Where do you think they're going to take it? Just off the
Um.
first episode.
So I think I think there's going to be, like I said, I think there's going to be something going on in Russia where Margot's going to be installed, and maybe they're going to have to be like, oh my God, she's alive, or there's going to be tension then between U.S. and Russia because of that. Um, I think Ed's got to die, because if we're going next season 10 more years in the future, like, you can't have 90-year-old Ed up in space. I think he's gonna go, like I said, I think it's gonna be an Armageddon moment with they're drilling or something in this asteroid and it blows up, and the asteroid is going,
Oh,
towards like the
Tommy Lee Jones,
Happy
Space
Valley.
Cowboys. Yeah.
Yeah, there's gonna be something, and Miles will be like, when I worked on this drill rig, we did this, and like, and then they do it, and then Miles is gonna do it, but then and then like Ed is like, no, I'm gonna do this for, and then Danny's gonna come out of the space woods, and like Ed and Danny are gonna go and like crash themselves into the asteroid to deflect it from like killing everybody or something.
Yeah, the asteroid is loose now. It's like wobbling, whatever.
Yeah.
It's on its own. It's $20, $20 fucking. That it's gonna at some point in the season they're gonna say, "Oh my God, we never could get control of it. It's got a trajectory. It's gonna crash right into the Mars like base camp where everybody lives, and Ed's got to
Yeah.
like fly a nuke right into the middle of it."
Well, no, and then Dev's got the robotics company, which we haven't seen Dev yet, and so he developed some like robotic flying suit that's better than the one, and like, so that somehow is involved. But there's going to be some kind of mass like devastation event or possibility, and then everybody's going to team together.
Yeah.
And someone's going to have to sacrifice themselves. But I mean, they're not afraid to kill Pete. I mean, Gordo and what was her name? Not Tammy.
Tracy.
But Tracy.
Yeah.
They died. The one lady got blown up in the plane in like season 2, if she was flying back from Russia or whatever.
Yeah, who was that?
The space. She was like the administrator or someone.
Yeah, and that was an actual plane that went down over Russia, like in real life. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and that was an important character. I think it's season 1 or season 2. And then I mean, they killed Karen. I think someone. We've already had Grigori, which he was big the last couple of seasons with Danielle and Ed. So I think we're gonna have probably Ed, and then that's gonna make Kelly. Well, then Kelly will go back in space, and then the son will be like in the space, and it's gonna carry on the line there.
Yeah, if they're gonna do like 2 or 3 more seasons, because I think they said they want to do like 7 seasons out of this thing, so there's like 3 more after this. You've got to have a decent lead, right, in terms of actor capability to take the reins of the show. So you got to replace Joel Kinnaman with somebody, and it's got to be a fresh face. I don't know that it's going to be Miles, but
Miles from Baton Rouge.
It's going to be interesting where they take it, because they can't keep milking, Joel Kinnaman for another 30 years out of this character.
Yeah,
because he'll just be space dust.
Yeah.
So. There are exceptions to the rule for sending like old people to space. John Glenn, I think, is the oldest person that's been to space, and it's like, okay, these legacy guys, they get a free pass. So it's like no surprise, like Ed is like, yeah, I'm going back into space, and they're just like, get him the hell out of here. he's less trouble we think out in space than back at NASA.
Yeah. Then he goes home and he's like the old guy hanging out around NASA.
He's like the astronaut from Avenue 5 with the ponytail.
Spike.
Oh,
that's great.
Jesus.
So what do you think is going to happen this season?
Yeah, I think there's going to be some cataclysmic event. The meteor is going to somehow fall to Mars, and it's going to cause some extinction level event or something to where they can't be on the planet anymore. Blah blah blah. And it's got to somehow save the day, whether or not Danny helps or not. I don't know what all these like side characters are going to do. I think Margot's going to somehow leak that like the Russians are going to blow up like Mars to the Americans or
Yeah.
something like that, and there's going to be a big coup and they save the day. I don't know. But yeah, my money's on Ed dies in some heroic fashion, and they name the fucking planet after him. Instead of Mars, it's going to be called Baldwin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
there was one question I meant to ask you. So obviously we see Alita going back to Danielle going back to what was JSC, which is now Molly Cobb Space Center. Obviously there's increased security. There was a statue or a monument out front. I couldn't tell what that was from. I'm assuming it was the bombing, but I didn't pause it. I didn't read it. I didn't do anything.
Yeah, it was for the bombing.
Okay.
The memorial, but I don't know what they were trying to go with. And I'm saying this because there's as you see in my background, this is Clear Lake, which is near NASA, and there's a artistic kind of statue thing that they did right outside, and it's supposed to be a space shuttle, but it kind of looks like a phallic symbol with there's a disease that makes it bent funny.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm trying to remember the name of it. But it's like, it reminds me of that. It's like, we're known for having stuff around here that's not very reflective of what it's meant to look like. But
yeah,
I'm assuming that's a memorial statue. So but yeah, I wonder. I mean, they didn't talk too much about it, but it did have overhead shot of Clear Lake or of NASA, and I'm like, oh, I know that. Like, it was actually the campus. I mean, you've been there, and you know. But
Johnson Space.
Was really cool.
It was funny to see it. It's like, oh, it hasn't changed, just like it hasn't changed today from when it was like 50 years ago. Got it.
Yeah, it's still the same. Yeah,
still the same.
But that they modernized the control room, mission control. So that was cool looking.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
But
yeah, the bombing on JSC at the time was supposed to take place. It's the parallel to the Oklahoma City bombing. It's within the same few months of what Oklahoma City was supposed to be. So that's what that was.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I'll have to go back and look because there's no photos of the memorial that I can see online for the bombing. So I'll have to go back and look at that because I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, it was like a charred piece of concrete or something. I don't know.
it's the van.
Oh man!
It's just a pic. They should have had it's Karen laying under the rubble.
It's a crossover with Star Wars. It's just Karen encased in carbonite, like
oh no,
like a bounty hunter's prize.
Oh yeah.
I
can't wait for episode 2. I love talking about this show because, like, it's just fun to talk about because it's not like we love it. And it's not it's not like watching Station 11 for me, or like I don't know, prestige show where we're
it's no Succession. Yeah,
but it's fucking just so much fun, and maybe because we like space and everything too. But I don't know,
alternate history, show. Space. It's got it meets every like check mark for me except for like prestige.
Exactly. And my friend of mine, Chris, asked me today, he's like, he had hip surgery and he's like, I'm laid up, want to binge something, what should I watch? I was like, okay, what streaming services do you have? I said, I would recommend Station 11 and I would recommend For All Mankind. And then I had mentioned I was starting to watch Bodies on Netflix. So he didn't have Apple TV, but he had Max and Netflix. So we'll see what he watches. But yeah, this I recommend this to everybody. My brother and his girlfriend Kelly watch it now, and they've seen all 3 seasons and really like it. So it's a fun watch. If you have Apple TV, watch it. It's great. So
it's an easy watch, people. It's got exciting moments. It's got space. Like it's not a slow burn at all. This season at least is like picking up pretty good. So the first episode was called Glasnost, and the second episode is Have a Nice Soul, and soul is SOL, like the sun. Yeah. So that'll be next Friday.
Yeah. Can't
Anything
wait.
Else? Oh, dude, yeah. It's gonna be a banger.
We'll do it, and we'll do it live.
We'll do it live. Anything else you want to cover?
I know what I'm doing on Thursday. I'm really glad to have a show back right now where I'm watching it like one night a week, because right now, like, I've been going back and just watching stuff because there's nothing that I'm watching that is like released every week. So it's nice to like have that to look forward to in a like TV watching set. So
yeah, some structure.
Yeah, but there's some good shows out there now. Two, like Bodies, and watched the first episode. Our buddy Marcos is on episode 5. The first one was banger. And then we have Fargo coming out really soon. There's another FX Hulu show that I've heard a couple commercials for that looks really good. It's about murder or something. And then there's another show missing that's coming out in November.
The Crown Part 1 is coming out in 5 days. Monarch Legacy of Monsters, which is the Godzilla, King Kong.
Oh, yeah.
They're doing an Apple TV show about it with Kurt Russell. That's in 6 days. I'll give it a try. Fargo in 10 days. My wife and I watch Virgin River. The second part of that is coming in 3 weeks. And then Slow Horses is in 3 weeks. So get ready for that.
Slow Horses was the other one. Yeah. That's Slow Horses. What I was thinking of, because I sent you the trailer for that the other day.
Yeah. That's bangers and mash. I can't wait.
Yeah, Fargo, The Crown with Diane. Yeah, so some good stuff coming out.
Yep.
So yeah, nothing else for me, man. I'm just glad to have something back that we could talk about too.
Same here. Yeah, the season finale for Loki just finished. It was every Thursday. So I think For All Mankind drops like late Thursday night at like 11. So I generally
last night's was on earlier because I watched that like 9
8 or 9. Yeah, it was crazy. So might have a nice early Thursday watch before the weekends. But yeah, appreciate everybody for kicking it this week with us. If you haven't watched For All Mankind, if you've made it this long, good God, go back and watch the entire thing, the first 3 seasons, and get caught up with us. And check out our all the podcast platforms. Check out our Instagram. Check out our website, takingtomedia.com. And as cousin likes to say,
mahalo.